Thank you, Linnell. At this time, I would like to introduce the speakers for this meeting, or at least one at a time. George B. from Bermuda is going to speak first.
Hi, everybody. I'm an addict named George. A nervous addict. I just want to start by saying I feel really, really blessed and honored to be given the opportunity to share at the World Convention of all places. You know, since the second I got to San Jose, I've been seeing examples of the miracle, you know, of NA, and I am a miracle. Just being here, being able to share, you know, what I've learned from the principles of this program. I don't know if I can spend 40 minutes talking about the reality of expectations, but before I do that, I know I could, but I don't want to babble and bore everybody. But I just want to take a few minutes to tell you guys a little bit about me and where I come from, and you know, my recovery and so forth, and then I'll share a little bit about you know, the topic of the reality of expectations. I'm almost 28 in a week's time. Been clean for 7.5 years through the help of Narcotics Anonymous. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go to other means. I've just been blessed that I was fed up, and I just wanted to stop and just wanted better for myself. And Narcotics Anonymous has been all I've ever needed. And I really, you know, have a real special place in my heart for this fellowship. I've made it my life, just because, you know, it's just the only place that I've ever felt truly at home, no matter where I've gone in the world. I've been able to, you know, just connect and find that common bond of people that are living the same way anywhere I've gone, no matter what the language, the creed, the color. And that's real special, real special, I think. I'm just a kid, you know, I'm 28 years old, and I still think I'm a kid in recovery, even though I've learned a lot. You know, I feel really blessed to be here at 28 with 7 years clean, and not having to have gone farther than I did. And I feel really blessed to have changed as much as I have, not just for being clean. I think the personality that I have of never being satisfied with anything has really helped me. I'm not just satisfied with just being clean or just being okay. I want to feel right about me. I've always wanted just to feel right. I want to feel okay with you guys or people in general. I want to be okay on the job. I want to be okay with my family. And because I want those things, it's given me the desire to change. And I have had the means through the Narcotics Anonymous program to change. And that's what I've chosen, you know, to put my energy into, to apply to my life and just to be an example. I like the topic. I like the time, and I like the topic. I don't believe everything is expectation. I don't believe everything is coincidence today. I really don't, and there's good reason. For example, just the person that called me to ask me to share at this convention called me the day after I'd had a really long night, and I had done a service commitment. We had a party, and I did a lot of work, and I was just really dead, and I was just wondering, you know, if all that energy was really worth it. And up and calls, you know, Mike P, and he asked me if I wanted to share, and you know, me being the person that I am and the way I've lived for the last 7.5 years, it's really sweet, you know, to be asked of all places to share here. I mean, it's really sweet because I've put a lot of energy into just being myself and trying to live, in accordance with the principles. Try to be a good example, not push anything on anybody. Just trying to live right and do a lot. I don't wait for anybody to do anything. When it comes to service, is a big part of my recovery, and it doesn't matter what. I'll clean ashtrays, I'll sweep, I'll do whatever. And I've been blessed to have been our area's chairperson for like 6 months now, but it doesn't matter to me what I do. I can be cleaning ashtrays and I'll be just as happy. But that's been a big part of my recovery, and I feel really blessed to have gotten, been able to ask to share here. It's just really sweet, like a little, gift from my higher power for the work that I put in. And the topic is no coincidence. The character that I have, the person that I am, I have always been looking ahead. I've always been looking for something to make me feel better than right now. It's kind of funny. This topic has got me thinking, over the last couple months, about expectations and reality also. And I was thinking about, how time is a great thing. Time is a great thing. And I can see the way I've lived today, especially the last 7 or 8 years. And I've seen the patterns that I have, that I've had. Some of them I've had all my life. And, that's a good teacher. Time is a good teacher as well for me. And I've learned that, I've been using things to make me feel okay for a long time, a real long time. And expectations were one of those things. I used and still use expectations to, I could be working and I would use that upcoming vacation to get me through the day. Hey, 3 months in time, I'm gonna be in California, and it's gonna be like this and it's gonna be like that. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And that's not really, that's not really how I want to live. I want to live in the here and now. I don't want to live in a fantasy world, because in reality, if it's not here and now, it's fantasy to me. Or it's just not reality. And I can distinctly see all my life I've been doing that. And I remember thinking about the topic, the reality of expectations. And all my life, not so much today, but most of my life before Narcotics Anonymous and into early recovery and more, I always lived in like a fantasy world, creating what I wanted to be or what I couldn't have. I wanted to have some money. I wanted to be Mr. Popular. I wanted to, be able to do everything great without having to do the work to get to those areas. I wanted to be great before I started doing anything, forgetting that, skilled people are not born with skills, like the speaker shared about last night. And I think those things really kept me back most of my life, because I didn't really do any action. I really just lived in that fantasy world. And today I can really see it when I do that, when I go there. And the way I go there today is subtle, but it's often like just like the topic, expectations. I don't so much today, but I still have that tendency. It's part of my character still. I don't know I doubt if it will ever go away completely. That might be, impossible. Just the person that I am. But I can be aware of it, and I don't have to live there for long. I can go out there and make these elaborate, scenarios, but I don't have to stay there for long. I can if I don't want to be in reality. But today, that just ain't who I am, not who I want to be. But I really feel like this is just what I needed, as a reminder. Not that I've been acting out in that particular way, but I believe in maintaining my recovery. I believe in just. I really like what the speaker last night had to say about not getting back to the basics, but just not leaving it, period. I really believe in just the simple things that NA has that has been working in Narcotics Anonymous for 50 odd years. Sponsorship, service, the steps, my higher power, just trying to apply those simple things. Those things aren't mistakes. They're specific things that work in different areas of my life. They've been working for people all over the world, and they're specific things. And if I apply them, then those specific areas of my life will change, and have changed. And I'm real aware of that. I'm really aware that if I stop, then the progression of my recovery just stops, or my life. My life will still go on, but the quality of my life will go down. I really believe. But I really feel blessed, really, really blessed, and nervous and and okay, and it's really simply okay. I feel really glad to be here and just having experienced this again. I've had the privilege of being to a few other conventions, and it's really sweet. It's just really sweet. The area that I come from is really small, but recovery is available to those that want it. I think that's the bottom line. That's what really matters, and in time will grow. So it's really sweet coming to a room where there's more people in here that come to a month's worth of meetings. It's just sweet. It's just really sweet, and that's a nice thing. It's nice to know that that I'm living a program that has worked for thousands and probably millions of people, no matter what the color, no matter what the creed, the age, which is a deal, has always been a deal for me. It doesn't matter. Anybody that applies the principles of this program will find change. I just see proof, wherever I go. When we go out, walk in the streets, we see people from this convention, and there's a lot of power there. And it's not that we're preaching to the next man walking down the street. It's just the way we carry ourselves has a power. Especially, especially for me, knowing where we've been. I really want to thank a couple people that came to support me tonight. It's pretty sweet, it's just nice to know that we support each other, we're there for each other. I had a few more things that I'm trying to think of to say that are eluding me right now. But I have a story that I heard from the last World Convention, and I want to share it. And it's not original to me, and I don't even want to think about me. This is just something I heard from another member, and nothing I say is original, and I'm not here to make myself sound big or anything. But this is one particular story that really kind of describes the way I feel about my life and my recovery. There were these two guys. It was an older man and it was a younger man. And the young man always hated the fact that the older man, with all his years of life, he seemed to have some knowledge. And the young man always hated the fact that this gentleman knew a lot. And so one day he decided that he was going to prove this man wrong. And so he got a dove in his hand. And so what he was planning to do was he's planning to go up to the old man and say, "Well, hey, old man, is this dove alive or dead?" And if the old man said it's alive, if it's dead, he would let it go, and if it's alive, he would squeeze it to death. So he walks up to the old man and he says, "Hey, old man, is this dove dead or alive?" And the old man looks him in the eyes and says, "It could be anything you want it to be." And just that's how I feel about my recovery. It's in my own hands. It's just right there. My life, that just kind of says it all from how I feel about, the disease of addiction that I have. And I'm really glad I have the means in this fellowship, the means to change, the means to get support when I need it or not, the means to go anywhere in the world or a lot of places in the world and find this fellowship find people that'll reach out with, with no expectations of anything, wanting anything back. I know that outside of those expectations that I've had all my life, wanting to live in some kind of fantasy world, I know that I have had a lot of expectations about this program. For example, my family or work. This program, I apply it to all areas of my life, and it's that's it's not just about how I live in here and applying the program in this fellowship. When I go to a meeting or when I go to an activity or something, I apply it in all areas of my life because I want all those areas to be comfortable, and that is important to me, that I don't have high expectations, unrealistic expectations of those things as well. If I have expectations, for example, of my sponsor, expecting him to call me, or expecting him to fix me, or expecting him to say something that's going to be the answer to what I'm going through, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. And I'm really glad that I understand that. I'm really glad that, like I said, the things in this fellowship are the way they are for a reason. It's not by fluke that our literature is the way it is, and it just wasn't piled up and just thrown out. It's all mapped out. It's been working for years, and it just takes me applying it the way it's suggested. I can apply it or not. I could change it all around if I want, but the way it's worked is the way it's laid out. And there are specific things that come out of those actions or applying the program to my life, and I really feel like it's just doing it the way it's suggested. I have the freedom to do it any way I want. I can come here, I can share if I want at a meeting. I can come and I don't have to reach out to anybody. I don't have to give anybody my number or my name or anything. But I won't get the benefits of this fellowship. I know that from my own experience, and from being blessed enough to be around here thus long, and being able to see it, the proof in other people, or that evidence in other people. There's all areas of my life. I really don't want to expect a lot of everything. I really don't even go there. Like I don't want to, because I know that anytime I go somewhere and I expect something, it's just, how can I expect? Like, I'm not this big scholar that knows what's going to happen. I'm just not. Like, it's like me coming and looking forward to coming to California for X amount of days or whatever, and expecting this to happen and that to happen. What am I, God? Like, I'm going to know what's going to happen? I'm not that. I'm just a human being. So don't even go there. It's not even worth it. So whatever way anything falls, the cards fall, whatever, it's like I'm blessed for whatever happens. And I feel really glad to understand that. And I feel better when I apply it. Which is the key, of course. Don't let anybody fool you. You can talk about it. I can talk about it. I could talk about it, and I could sound great, but I have to apply it, and that's the bottom line. It's really important to me that I don't go anywhere and have any expectations on much. No matter what area. If I go home and I expect my family to understand me with the disease, having the disease of addiction, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. If I make the effort to communicate with them, for example, and educate them a little bit, then it will get better. But it's just unrealistic. A lot of the things that my mind thinks, should be. That's just unrealistic. That's not reality for me. It's just not reality for me. I really, really love this fellowship. I really do. Like I said, I put all my energy into this fellowship. There's a lot of God-sent places, organizations, etc. And this is the one that I've chosen to put all my energy into. And there's a good reason. There's a real good reason. It's like it's like serving two higher powers. It's like I need to do something and focus on that one thing. All my life I tried to do it all, or either at all or nothing at all. And it's just so much the character that I have, the person that I am. I need to have one set of guidelines to follow, because my mind wants to find the easier way out, the most gentle way, most acceptable way sometimes on another day. It's just the character that I have, really needs this particular fellowship. The way this program is laid out is just right for me in my heart, and I put all my energy there, so that I hope that my example can benefit somebody else, and also just to keep what I have. I know that if I don't use it, I'll lose it. I know, and I don't have a heck of a lot more to share, other than this is just really sweet to be able to share at the World Convention of Narcotics Anonymous. I feel I owe my whole life to this fellowship. Just its existence. Nothing was dropped in my lap, but its existence and my desire to change has made what I am, or the hope that I have for the future, and the things that I've achieved thus far and have gotten thus far, and it's all here. The higher power that I have, I found and worship and listen to and learn from in here. For the most part. And I can't say more. That's just how I feel, and I pray that everybody has a great time, and that we we can just look at how special all this is. Look at how special this is. Real special, real special. Where else can people of different colors and creeds and religions come together and respect each other, no matter what age, no matter what. And I'm really glad that I have the opportunity. My higher power has blessed me with my higher power and my work has blessed me with the ability to save some money. So thus I've been able to travel, and I've been able to share in other people's recovery, and I'm really glad for that, because I've learned a lot. I've been able to see the miracle on a huge scale. It's like living in a very small area. It's not hard to forget that there's a lot out there. Because if that's all you know, and that's all your day to day is, it's normal not to think on a big scale or in a big way. But this is huge, and this is working anywhere that people want it, anywhere anybody wants to stop using. Period. And before I close, I just remembered something else. Our area is having its very first Narcotics Anonymous convention in April of next year, and we could use your support, and it would be sweet to see everybody there and just enjoy the miracle of NA. I just want to say that in my area. but I just want to thank everybody and keep coming.
Thank you, George. I would now like to introduce our second speaker, Kathy M. from California.
You got the fruit ready? My name's Kathy, and I'm an addict. Lynette and Andy told me they were going to keep me humble. They were going to bring fruit along and stick grapes up in their noses and do all kinds of... And I expected you to do that. You really let me down. You know what I mean? And I think the first thing I want to say is I have a lot of fucking expectations. I got to tell you that. And I'm going to tell you about some of the ones I had when I got here, and I'm going to tell you about some of the things that have changed since I've been here. And I think I'm going to start this off with a story, and some of you that know me know that I usually close with this story, but this is like the perfect story. This is a story of Benson's wife. And my husband and I lived in North Hollywood a few years ago. And now you have to understand, at the time this is happening, I got about 15, 17 years clean, and we're living in this little tract house in North Hollywood, little post-World War II tract homes where they're all like just alike and they're all stacked together, and you say hello to your neighbors in the morning when you go out, and everybody's, you know, kind of friendly. And 2 doors up there was this little old retired guy named Benson, and I'd go out to work in the morning, and Benson would be out watering his lawn, and we'd wave, you know, and he'd wave back to me. And Benson was a cool guy. He was the guy who, like, you know, he was home all the time, so he, like, watched everybody's house. And when you're clean, you want your house to be watched, you know what I mean? So he was like, we do change here, you know what I mean? It's like, I like people to watch my shit when I'm gone now. And so he would, like, you know, he was real friendly. He'd say hello, and I'd come home in the afternoon, and Benson had a wife. And Benson's wife would be sitting out on their front stairs, if you're from California, and she'd be smoking a cigarette. You know, big puffs of, you know, how old women smoke cigarettes. And Betsy and I are looking at each other. We're getting there, huh, Betsy? And so she'd be smoking a cigarette, and I'd get out of my car, and I'd turn around, and I'd look at her, and I'd wave, and she'd do one of these, and she'd look the other way. And I'd think, who the heck does this woman think she is? You know what I mean? It's like, doesn't she know who I am? You know, and this went on for like a long time. This woman just totally shined me on. If I was on my way home from the store and I went by and I'd wave, she'd look the other way. So I used to complain to Rick about it. What is with this woman? You know, her husband's so friendly, you know. And so about a year, 2 years after this started happening, I come home from work one day, and Rick's been home all day, took the day off, and he's not in the house anywhere. So I start making dinner, and pretty soon Rick comes in the house, and he walked up the street to go get, you know, a pack of cigarettes or something, and he comes back and he says, I said, where you been, honey? And he said, oh, I've been up, I walked up the street, and Benson was out, and we've been talking, you know, and Benson is really this interesting old guy, was at the Battle of the Bulge, you know, and his wife's father built this tract, and they've lived here for 45 years, and, you know, and it's like really an interesting old guy, you know, and I think we're going to, like, you know, be friends. I'm going to go back and talk to him some more and stuff. And he says, you know, Benson spends most of his time taking care of his wife now. And I said, what are you talking about, taking care of his wife? And he says, well, you know, she's legally blind. This is the story of my life. I can put so much energy into things that I perceive should be a certain way, and get all this justified resentment going and feel oh so together, you know. And I haven't got a damn clue. You know, I don't, you know, I mean, you know, I have this incredible sponsor that I've been working with for 20 years, and this sponsor started telling me 20 years ago, and I really strongly believe this, that most of our recovery is about unlearning what we learned before we got here. You know, and I don't know about you, but I have never been like those other people out there in the world. You know, when I stood up here and I started this pitch and I said, my name's Kathy and I'm an addict, that about sums it up. Because if you understand the nature of addiction, I came into this world different. I came into this world somehow so self-obsessed and self-absorbed and missing whatever it is that allows my fellow humanity out there to connect with each other in kind of a graceful, kind of natural way. For some reason, I wasn't given that when I got here. And I don't know why. I really don't care why. I don't know if I got this thing, after I was born. I don't know if I picked it up on a toilet seat. I don't know. If I'm paying off karma, if you want to go there, whatever, I just know that I have always been different. Now, being different and being raised in this culture, I've been raised in a society that tells us we're supposed to expect certain things of not only ourselves but our fellows. And that works for them out there. But it doesn't work for me. I am not built that way. And I like to talk about, the biggest expectation I had when I got here. First of all, I'm not one of those people who ran in the rooms and said, "Oh, I'm so glad to be clean," I was drug in here, by a family member because they didn't know what to do with me, and I didn't want to be here, and I didn't like you people. And if you're new and you're sitting here and you just hate it, it's like, welcome home. Keep coming back. So I got here and didn't want anything that was here. And what happened was that, I was desperate enough in my life at that point and ill enough, when we read, when we do the readings and we talk about, sick people, somebody in the back always goes, sick! And I'm not sick anymore. I was sick when I got here. I'm not sick anymore. I haven't been sick in a long time. I do some questionable actions sometimes, but I'm not sick. You have to drop those cop-outs. One of the biggest things you'll learn after you've been here for a while is nobody gets away with anything. So if you think, you're like, scheming on the side and you got some funny financial stuff going and some, emotional blackmail and nobody will know about this, you're the most important one. Nobody gets away with anything. And that's part of growing up, that quitting that, that kind of childish concept that I came in here with about, things were supposed to be a certain way and special people were supposed to come into my life and make me feel oh so wonderful, and that's my responsibility, It's not on you people, it's like that's my responsibility to get right with me. And we do that through working the steps in here, and there are a lot of teachers around here who will not only teach you how to do it, but how not to do it. So it's real important that you keep your eyes open. It's like NA is like school for fuck-ups. I'm going to cuss. I'm sorry. Bleep me. I hope they don't bleep every cuss word. You won't be able to understand this pitch, but... And I needed that. I needed to be brought into basic life 101. That's where, I was at when I got here. So anyway, I got to Narcotics Anonymous, didn't want to be here, hung around for about 6 months because I was too sick to hustle. And after about 6 months, this incredible thing happened. And what I refer to it as my little spiritual clicks, if anybody's ever had a spiritual click, where all of a sudden you've been listening to the message for a while, but you had no framework to hang it on to. Just kind of watching people and checking them out and stuff. And all of a sudden, this little, you can almost hear it. It's an audible click. It's always audible in my head. Now I can hear it. And it's like this click happens, and you're like a quarter of a turn, clockwise, and all of a sudden your whole life is different, and it will never be the same again. And the first click I had was about admitting that I was powerless over my addiction, and my life had become unmanageable. That is a terrifying thing. The first step for me was a terrifying thing, because I thought that addict frame of reference that I had when I got in here. That, okay, I couldn't use drugs anymore. The drugs had stopped working. I couldn't use drugs. I was powerless. My life had become unmanageable. And so I really thought that if I work the steps and work the steps and work the steps and work the steps, that it's a new way to manage my life. That one more time I wouldn't have to be Kathy. And that was the expectation I had on this fellowship and these steps when I got here. I thought they were a new way to not have to feel anything, to not have to be a part of the human condition and reality. That, you know what, that I would somehow, especially if I got the right higher power, not only would I always have parking places. You've heard us, that work real hard at trying not to feel anything. Oh, I'm just so wonderful. I just walk hand in hand with God, and I talk softly, and everything's so quiet, it hasn't been like that for me. I tried it a couple of times, but unless you can put a lot of energy into denial around here. You know what I mean? Oh no, my feelings aren't hurt. We can spend a lot of years doing that around here because we're so terrified people aren't going to love us if we tell them the truth. Which is, I resent you, you hurt my feelings, I don't want to write a fourth step, it's like, when will my defects of character be removed? It's like, we don't want to talk about these things, So I really thought that this program was going to give me a new drug. The drug of being clean. Do you know what I mean? It's like I was just going to be oh so clean and oh so connected to a higher power that I wouldn't have to feel anything. And what happens after you're here for a while is I remember I had this rude awakening, very rude awakening, when I was about 2.5 years clean. What happened was I was married to a man who didn't want to be here, and I'd had my first son, and somebody was talking about this to me the other day. They remembered when I went through this. It's about 2.5 years clean, and I left him, and I stayed clean because I knew by then that I wanted this thing more than anything else in the world. I wanted to be clean. And I remember that at 3 years clean, I was looking at razor blades. And I remember sitting on the floor in front of my oldest son. He was about 1.5 years old at the time, I think, and he had those little white shoes, their first little walking shoes. And I couldn't get his shoes on his feet. I remember I was trying to, how you hit the heel of them with the heel of your hand? I was trying to put these little shoes on this little baby's feet, and I couldn't get his shoes on. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't live clean. I can't feel this much pain. I can't do this. And this program is not stopping the feelings. They were like bombarding their way on through, because they will. Because you know what? They're supposed to. Bummer that it is. We are supposed to feel every damn thing that comes down the pipe and not use. And there's always some happy, healthy, helpful person out there who wants to stop our feelings. Do you know what I mean? They really think we'll die if we feel too much. And I'm still standing here alive, and I'm one of those people who my sponsor still teases me about, I've put myself in more precarious positions clean than I ever did using. Just because my choice concept has been like real, slow to develop here. And I've gotten better, though. I'm here to tell you I'm better today. But I made some choices, the first 15 years I was around here. I hate to tell you that. My sponsor talks about the first 5 years you're here. It takes 5 years for the fog to lift. Do you know what I mean? 5 years, because the first 5 years, a piece of cake, you get rah-rah, you get into service, everybody pats you on the back for being clean, it's like, you run around, you know everybody, you go to conventions, you get laid a lot, you have babies, You get your first little letter behind your name. Oh, I'm a real person now. I have like a business card with letters behind my name, and you get your first big raise, you buy your first brand new car without a co-signer, you buy the first house, you do all these things, and somewhere around about 5 years or so, you go, oh my God. And things start changing. I remember pulling Bob Barrett out of a meeting one night. I was 9 years clean, and I said, I think I'm losing my mind. And he looked at me, he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, you know what, Bob? It's gotten real clear to me that my reality is no longer these things out here. It's like my reality is on the inside. And he said, you're not losing your mind. And I think maybe that's one of those things that some other people on the planet already know. I've never known that. I never knew that it wasn't about who I laid down with, what I drove, what my checking account balance was, where my parents sent me to school, what kind of shoes I was wearing. I thought that was who I was. And I think we're encouraged to think that. This is what our economy thrives on. I've been told my whole life, you should drive this, you should live in this neighborhood, you should sleep with this kind of person, your kids should look like this, and it's like it's all outside stuff. And I think what's so difficult for most of us when we get here is that this has got very little to do with the outside stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like my stuff. I like nice stuff. And there's nothing wrong with nice stuff. But that's not what allows me to be centered on the inside, and you can be fucking miserable in a 3,000 square foot house with a boat in the backyard and money in the bank. You can be miserable. Of course, you can be miserable poor, too. And the point I'm trying to make is that I expected when I got here that this thing was a contract, that if I worked it, that it was going to do exactly for me what heroin used to do, which was take me out of me. And what happened is you find out the longer you're here that you have to learn to go inside and apply the principles inside. That's a whole thing in itself. It's going to take me the rest of my life to figure out how to do that. I mean, I've got a little glimpse right now about what it is I want and what it is that makes me feel connected and what I've come to believe in around here. But I had no idea what any of that stuff was, and maybe I'm just a slow learner. I once had a newcomer come up to me after I shared, and I had shared all the bloody details of my clean time, divorces, mayhem, bankruptcies, all this bloody stuff. And he came up and he looked at me and he said, God, I hope I learn how to do this faster than you have. And I told him, keep coming back. Because we don't even know we don't know until we, are put in that position, So Bob told me I wasn't losing my mind, that it was just starting to, it was starting to get real for me here. That, my expectations on, what my life was going to be like, staying clean, had to have a new foundation, and most of what I have resisted the most in my clean time has brought me the most joy and freedom. But while you're invested in the resistance, whether it's letting go of a relationship that is killing you, been in a couple of those, letting go of a job situation that is killing, how my children should be in my life, letting go of, how my family was going to perceive me after I'd been clean. I was talking to Sherry this morning, we were talking about her family, and they don't have to understand. I hate to tell you that. You know, if you're waiting for your family, you know, your family of origin, to like embrace you and tell you how wonderful it is that you're not doing what you never should have been doing to begin with, it may never happen. You know, I was 20 years clean, and a movie star had to drop dead outside of a Hollywood club of an overdose before my mother could say the words to me, "You know what, Kathy? You've really done well with your addiction." It took somebody else to drop dead, but that was the best she could do. And you know what? I think that we put a high price on what other people think of us, especially our families. And we put us and them through a lot of unnecessary pain. Because you know what? My mother doesn't have the disease of addiction. There's no way she could understand what that not only feels like, but tastes like and smells like and looks like. And reality is she doesn't have to. I'm the addict. It's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to surround myself with people who can teach me how to live and enjoy life without the use of drugs. Not just stay clean, because I wouldn't still be here if I were miserable. You know, and at this point it kind of looks like I've given up that self-sabotaging behavior, but check back with me in about 5 years and I'll give you an update. Because you never know when we can break out in some kind of self-destruct, because we really get addicted to drama around here. You know what I mean? And when I was about 15 years clean, I remember talking to my sponsor about, that I was terrified that I had become addicted to putting myself in positions that ended up so painful that it was a question of whether or not I was going to stay sane through them. If anybody can relate to that, where you like keep putting yourself in these horrendous positions and expecting people, places, and things that are totally incapable and usually don't even care about what's happening to you, and expect them to serve certain purposes in your life, and then get your feelers hurt, and shut down and dig your heels in the ground and say, "I'm not moving, I'm going to make this right." And some of us really believe for certain lengths of time that if you beat yourself with a 6 and 7 step long enough, the rest of the world will change. You know what I mean? That we're going to beat ourselves into being something that we're not. Like, I have an idea about what my life should look like. Let me tell you, my life doesn't look anything like I thought it would. If you would have asked me when I was new what my life should look like today, I would have taken you on some trip. And I'm sure it doesn't look anything like it does today. But you know what? My life is exactly the way it's supposed to be now. That doesn't mean it'll be this way next Tuesday. But right now, my life is a gas right now. It's like I feel very content in my life. But the expectations that we put on people, and this is the whole thing right here, is that we struggle with coming to believe. The second step for me, when I admitted I was powerless, my life became unmanageable. Then this next step is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, I don't know about any of you guys, but people kept telling me that my higher power could be anything I wanted it to be. But I had so little courage and so little faith. I chose a higher power that I did not trust, that I knew wasn't going to be there for me, that was passing judgment, and I was never going to be able to live up to what this higher power wanted for me. But you see, I thought so little of myself that I thought I had to take everybody else's concept and kind of meld it in there and then beat myself into something, that went along with this picture. And I was like, did you ever get the weekly reader in school when you were a kid? This is a world convention, so I'm going to tell you. You know what? We have these little papers they give out in the California schools. They still do, as a matter of fact. They're still out there. And they're called the Weekly Reader. And they're these little newspapers that teach children how to, read a newspaper. And on the back of the Weekly Reader every week, they would have a thing called, "What is wrong with this picture?" And it would be like an orange tree with pineapples hanging off of it, with a squirrel upside down and a one-winged bird hanging off of it, and and your job was to look at this picture and identify what was wrong. You got the thing now. Okay. Well, I have spent a lot of years around here trying to figure out what is wrong with this picture. And what's been wrong is usually when I lack that faith, because I really think I'm not going to be taken care of. I get scared and I think I'm not going to be taken care of. And I lack faith in my higher power that things are going to be okay. And I will keep myself in situations that I have no business being in. I will keep myself up all night long, grinding the same bum scenarios through my head, thinking that if I just feel bad long enough, they'll go away. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. But I still do it sometimes. I'm not sick, but I'm not well either. Anyway, that's like, I have the most incredible mother-in-law. I've had 3. This one I really like. And she called one day. She's like one of those people who's just like spiritual on the natch, very calm, very quiet, like really centered in her beliefs. And she called one day, and she said, she was talking about something. I told her I was worried about something, and she said, well, but if that doesn't happen, it's okay. And I said, yeah, but, and she said, wait a minute, don't worry anyway. And it's like it hung. Have you ever heard a truth? Somebody tell you the truth and it like hangs in the air like a cartoon, like the balloon with the words in it. And it's like it just hung in the air. Don't worry anyway. Oh, you mean I'm cared for and protected? No matter what it is I perceive to be out of, what's wrong? Oh, no, this is supposed to be like this up here. It's like, no. You just keep showing up. You keep coming back. You do what you know is right in your heart. It's like I put on this shirt for a reason this morning, and for the benefit of the people listening to the tape, it says, I have to read it again. Let me read my own breast here. Sharing from the heart. Because that's what we do around here. When I spend too much time in my own head, it gets all garbled up, and what we do here is we share from the heart. So I've had all these different, expectations since I got here, and I want to talk about my kids here for a minute because a lot of us have grown up here and we're raising kids, and we are not islands. I'm here to tell you that Narcotics Anonymous, when it affects the addict, it affects the whole community out there, and it starts with our families. And if you're like me and you got here thinking you would never have children, and then you were blessed with these little persons, you know how important that is. You know how that important it is. And I am blessed with, Ryan's sitting out here. He's what we call an NA kid. We tease him about, he's got more clean time than some other. He should be sponsoring different people around here. Anyway, and you know what? When he listens to what's going on here. And there's this whole concept about, don't take the kids to an NA meeting. They might hear the word fuck. They might hear their mother used to shoot dope. So what do? We get up and we like sneak out to meetings, like they don't know. See, we always think we're watching kids. They're watching us. I got to tell you, kids know everything. And if they think that you think that there's something wrong or something weird going on here, they're going to pick up on that. So I'm one of those knuckleheads that I bring my kids to the fellowship. Because you know what? Yeah, there's some tawdry things discussed around here like there isn't on cable television, where they never get to the solution, damn it. You know what I mean? But there is so much incredible healing that goes on here. My children have been brought up in Narcotics Anonymous. Do you understand what that means? That means they know it's okay to talk about feelings, even when mom doesn't want to hear it. They talk about them anyway. They know that there is a place where people love each other. They know that there are people who, that if you find yourself in a difficult position, will actually listen to you on the other end of the phone. They know that their mother and father have help available to them when they need it. They know it's okay to need help. They know the most incredible things. They hear about God in all different forms and aspects. They see newcomers come in and carry the message to those of us who think that we don't need it anymore. They listen to us tell on ourselves. They watch us work with other people, not because we're wonderful, but because our lives depend on it. Is that the most incredible thing you could give your kids? And I don't want to hear from everybody about, okay, Kathy, we got 18 screaming kids running through the meeting now, and it's all your fault. You know what? There are ways to do that. You know what? There are ways to do that. And deal with it. Anyway. So I have a lot of expectations on this fellowship as far as its ability to not only acknowledge the newcomer, but also minister to the people that we touch. We touch other people. Do you understand that? Do you understand what happens here? When we come to believe, and we're not so self-obsessed and act like this is a big, secret society, and I believe anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. It's what keeps us from hurting ourselves out of ego. As a matter of fact, I want to talk a little bit about this. First of all, I took a 24-year cake a week ago. Don't wait. Let me finish before you all go, it was recovery or death. I'm not standing up here because, 24 years. I see people with video cameras. Some of my grand sponsees do that to me. Don't you understand? I'm still an addict. I'm here because I'm still learning how to do this. It's very important for me to be able to walk into a room and sit down, and when the discussion opens and nobody knows how to answer, the newcomer whose heart is bleeding all over the floor, that everybody in the room doesn't turn around and say, Kathy, would you like to share? Yeah, I'd like to share. Keep coming back. We love you. It works. Don't do that to us. I need my anonymity. I need to be just an addict. Just an addict. And that's what our traditions say here. And I expect that my anonymity will be observed in that way. I mean, it's wonderful that people come up and say, can I have your phone number? Will you come and speak? We'll send you a plane ticket. And I'm willing to do most of those things if my kids don't need me. But recovery starts at home, and I really believe of being a service to my kids and my husband and my family. But don't put us in those positions, And if you don't understand that, when the countdown happens, it was much more exhilarating for me when I was a year clean, 5 years clean, 10 years clean, to stand up and go, yay, and we need to celebrate that. Because there's this thing about doing this thing one day at a time for long periods of time where you really come to believe, because you're here long enough to see that what you thought was going to kill you when you let go of it at 3 years was the biggest blessing that ever happened in your life at 10. But you had to stay clean through that whole 7 years to figure that out. So, time is very important around here, because that's what has allowed me to look at the big picture, because I am myopic. I will look at my life, it's not right, and it's never going to change. But you stay and you get this big panorama after you've been here for a while, right, Helene? Where you see that everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. The people came in to play the parts that you needed, It's like the bird turned around and grew a wing, and flew off, and you made fruit salad out of that damn pineapple that was hanging upside down, and is that the hokiest thing you've ever heard? See, but I didn't expect anything like this when I got here, you know what I mean? And time, staying here one day at a time and not using in between will give you the ability to know that you are capable of coming to believe in this thing and actually doing it. We do it here. This isn't a theory, damn it. We suit up and show up every day. Sometimes my sponsees call and their hearts are, broken, and they're and they say, what should I do? I tell them, keep crying, and above all, breathe. Just keep breathing. Sometimes that's all we can do. There are no fixes, and you can't, beat yourself into doing this right so everything's so safe. Life isn't supposed to be safe. Life is supposed to be life. That means that it's moving, it's changing. Get with the program, because that's the way it's going to be. It's about the time you think you got it figured all out, everything changes. Okay, we're still staying clean. Get with the program, keep showing up. You know what I mean? I make a few choices along the way. So anyway, I want to talk about kids. I have this incredible 15-year-old son who's, becoming this hunk, and calls me the little geezer mother, calls me the geezer woman. And I have to threaten him once in a while. I have to look up when I threaten him now. And he's incredible. He is like, I can just see him taking off in front of my eyes, and it's just such a blessing to have you in my life. And I have a 22-year-old son who's autistic. And this is the son that I prayed for when I got here. But I just knew that if I had this child when I was new, that I would feel whole. Because some of us think that. Some of us think that if we get our families back, or if we have these children, that we're going to be a whole. And they teach us to let go. That's what they teach us. They teach us that, it's our jobs to feed them and to put them in safe positions and to let them know that they're loved and to put them with people who love them. But as far as their choices, we have very little to say about who they become. And I had a stepson named CASSETTE, and he came into my life when he was 11, because I fell madly in love with his father, and he didn't want me to be his mother, and damn it, I wanted to be his mom. And I had to let him go, and I had to step back, because he had a mother, a practicing addict mother, and he didn't want another mother, damn it. And I had to learn to step back and let Rick love him and do what we could. But now he was 11, and he was angry as hell. And we did the best we could. And I remember, we put him in treatment a few times, and Rick would get so worried, and I'd tell him, I don't want to snivel through this whole thing. Anyway, but I may, so deal with it. So, and I would tell Rick, I'd say, honey, remember, you didn't get clean till you were 33, so there's still a chance here. You know, he's going to straighten out. You know, he knows about Narcotics Anonymous. He knows we love him. You know, it's like we always, whatever he needs, you know, Rick was always there. I kind of tried to stay away because I knew he was, like, angry at me. You know, I was the mom who, like, wasn't the mom, damn it. Anybody raising stepkids, you know what that feels like. And, he died of an overdose in January. And I still don't quite understand, and I never will. I know, you know, I say all these wonderful things. We're all on our own path, and we all have our own things to do, and that was his path, and I have all this bullshit, you know, up here. Because I expect myself to be able to rise above the pain. You know what I mean? Beat it down, you know. It's like, oh, let him go. The spirit is free. He's at peace now. But there's still a part of me that, damn it, it should have been Rick, and it should have been me. Because we were the ones who fucking scuffled out there. It should have been this kid who had all this NA around him. And one more time, the reality of the situation is, thank you, sweetie. You know what's not on the microphone? The reality of the situation is, you know what? For some unknown reason, this child had to leave here. He was done here. He was done. And there's nothing that Rick and I can do to change that. He will always be gone. And somewhere along the line, I have to come to peace with that. And you're going to have to be fucking patient with me. It may take me 10 fucking years. But I'm not going anywhere, so that's the way it goes. Some of us snivel for a long time around here. And I don't know what purpose that death served, if it served any purpose, or if it even was supposed to. All I know is that, you know what, his father and I keep coming back, we keep showing up, we cry when we have to. I'm going to talk about it until I can't fucking talk about it anymore. And he will always be a strong example to me of that this fellowship is not for people who need it. It's for people who want it. And we can spend a lot of time trying to figure out what that whole thing is, but those of us who choose to be here are here today. And when I go to meetings and I hear people talk about, you know, so-and-so went back out, you know, and this one died, and we buried that one, you know, I have to stop that madness, because I can get really into the morbidity of the disease, because, you know, sometimes we forget this is a deadly fucking disease. Deadly. And I try to focus on the people that are still here. Because just by standing at this microphone, you can see that I'm willing. Are you willing? I'm still fucking willing. And I try to look at the ones that have the fucking balls to stay here and cry and snivel and try to figure out, you know, what to do with this defective character, and, you know, how to get Johnny over there to, like, recognize that, you know, you want to, you know, go out on the dance floor. And, I mean, it's like whatever your trip is, you know what I mean? Whatever your trip is. Where are we at here? Are we done yet? I believe in Narcotics Anonymous. I believe that this thing should be made available to anybody who wants it. I believe it's my responsibility to stay clean and carry the message. I believe that I will be taken care of no matter what happens. I believe it's my responsibility to keep showing up and asking those uncomfortable questions. I believe it's my responsibility to cry at this microphone if that's what it takes for me to get through this pitch today. I'm going to tell you a little story about Killer. Rick and I moved to the country about 2 years this month. He's telling me 2. He knows I'm blown out up here. Thanks, honey. That's why I bring him along. Besides that, he's awful cute, you know. Rick and I moved to the country about 2 years ago. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I remember a time in my life when I was happy, before the addiction took off. I know some of us don't relate to that, but I do. I remember being a happy kid. And I remember running across the hillsides and riding my girlfriend's ponies. When I wasn't supposed to, I used to lie and run off and ride and then come home with horse sweat all over my ass like my parents didn't know I'd been on a horse ride. And I loved being outside, throwing lemons at my brothers, because we lived across the street from a lemon grove in the San Fernando Valley, chasing butterflies, going to Bull Creek and catching frogs in jars and then making sure I got them back and let them go before they died. Most of them made it. I've always had this connection to the earth, you know. And so Rick and I moved up to the countryside about 2 years ago, and there was a horse ranch down around the corner. And I ran into this guy one day, and we started talking, and he said, I don't ride anymore, I have a bad back, but my wife's got 47 horses, and we run a stable down around the corner. She trains Arabian endurance horses. And she said, so if you want to ride, because I was telling him, I used to ride when I was a kid. God, I'd love to ride. He said, if you want to ride, go down and talk to my wife. Her name's Donna. So right away, about 2 months later, I'm prompt as I can be. About 2 months later, when I got the courage up, because this is scary, I hadn't been on a horse in like 25 years, right? I went down one day and I said, I'm going to do this. And I drove up, and there's this cranky woman standing at the tie rail, currying this horse. And I got out and she said, can I help you? I said, I'm looking for Donna. She said, I'm Donna. I said, well, hi, my name's Kathy. I live up on the hill in the blue house up there. I'm your new neighbor. I talked to your husband. He said, maybe I could ride. She said, you ride? I said, well, I haven't been on a horse in 25 years. She said, well, how much did you ride when you were riding? I said, well, I had a horse and a trainer, and I used to really ride. She says, okay, come back Tuesday. Oh, and by the way, I charge $20 an hour. I said, okay, so Tuesday. This woman is like, argh. That's okay. I've dealt with worse. So Tuesday, I'm the courageous, recovering woman that I am. Put on my little boots and go down to see Donna. She says, see that little gelding over there? That's Tarzan. Go get Tarzan out. So I get the halter, kind of try to remember how to work this halter. It was inside out, and it was like a puzzle, right? So I'm like, I go in, I get Tarzan, bring him out. She said, okay, now clean him up, saddle him up. So I get out the brushes, pick out his feet, try to figure out how to put the bridle on. It's been 25 years, how to do the cinch, get the horse ready. She comes over, she looks at it, she goes, well, you did pretty good, but you forgot this and you forgot that, and you need to do this, and before, and she's telling me that I'm standing there feeling like a dummy. Okay, $20, tell me. And teach me. And so we get on these horses, And we go on a trail ride. About 20 minutes in the trail ride, she's taking me up and down these things, and because I live like up on a mountain and there's all these ravines and shit, and she's got me moving on this horse. And about 20 minutes in the ride, she looks at me and she says, "Oh my God, you can ride." I said, "I can?" She said, "You can ride." So I tell you what, you come back Thursday, 10 o'clock. I said, "Okay, I'll be here." Thursday, I go back at Thursday, 10 o'clock. I get out of the car. She says, "Go get Killer. We're going to put you on Killer." Killer? Okay. No one's been on Killer for a while. Nobody likes her. Okay. You can. She told me. She said, "You can handle. You can do Killer." I said, "Okay." So I go get Killer. Killer's this 15-year-old chestnut with a flaxen mane and tail mare. Gorgeous. Built like a little tank. I like fat mares. Anyway, she says, "Come on, we're going to go out on Killer." So a bunch of us get on, and these women, I'm meeting these other women that ride up there all the time. They're going, "Killer? You're putting her on Killer? Are you sure? Tarzan's, you want, okay, put her on." "Oh, we don't like Killer. I rode Killer once. She's a killer." You know what I mean? So I get on this mare, and she goes into cantering in place. Have you ever been on a nervous horse? Where they're like, she is like, this horse, but I knew what it was. She was terrified. She was scared. And she didn't know me, and I didn't know her. So I tell her, we have this little conversation before we go out, and I tell her, "You know what, Killer? I'm not going to put you in inner jeopardy. I'm not going to ask you to do anything you can't do, and we're going to get through this thing together, okay? That's the deal, Killer, okay? You be nice to me, I be nice to you, okay?" So we go on this ride, and I'm exhausted when we get back, and she's dripping foam and sweat, and she's hysterical, but we make it through the ride. She doesn't try to throw me, kick me, bite me, dump me, run me up against a tree. She's just nervous, So I get off this horse and I ride Killer for, a couple months, a couple times a week, couple months. People start telling me, you ought to buy Killer. And I kept thinking, I don't know, buy Killer? What are you, crazy? You know what they say about those horse salesmen, those horse dealers? So, well, maybe, So as the months progress, about 3 or 4 months into it, Killer starts to calm down. And what I found out about Killer is that Killer was sold by her last family because she dumped their child. She threw somebody because these people put a kid on her who didn't know what they were doing, didn't know what she was doing, was sold to a woman who hated her, who tried to beat her into submission, and then was stood in a stall because she didn't meet up to their expectations. Did you get the picture here? This mare is my main ride. I now have 2 wild Arab mares. Killer is the one I ride the most because I understand Killer. I understand people putting expectations on you to be something you have no way of becoming. Killer will never be a quarter horse. She's not a quarter horse. She's wild. She has this life force in her that will take you for fucking 100 miles if you let her. She has a heart about this big, and she's not a plodding kid's horse. She's an Arab mare. She's exactly who she's supposed to be. And now that I don't try to dominate her and make her be something that she's never going to be, she's fine. And now other people come up and I put them on Killer. Not everybody, let me tell you. You have to have ridden for quite a while to get on Killer. But the point is that, you know what? We have to deal with what is around here. You can't go through your life trying to make an Arab into a quarter horse. You can't go through your life trying to demand that an addict who just wants to use stays clean. You can't demand that your significant other act oh so safely so that you don't get your feelers hurt. This is the reality of expectations. They're the biggest fucking setup in the world. And then we sit around here and cry the fucking blues. Because we don't trust that if we just let all these things be exactly the way they're supposed to be, that we'll be okay and so will they. It's about coming to believe. It's about trusting in a loving God, whatever that God is in your life. It can be anything. I have my own today. You get yours. It's about learning to do what Jimmy Kay used to say about, you know what, discipline. Discipline, I hated that word when I got here because it was like discipline. You know what I mean? Discipline, heavy work, drudgery. Discipline, Jimmy Kay said, discipline is figuring out what you like to do and then continuing to do it. This is a program of spiritual discipline. This is where we figure out what we like to do and we continue to do it. And you know what I like to do? I like to share with other addicts, and I want to thank you all for letting me come and share with you.